the Boundless Authenticity Podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Jahan from Boundless Authenticity. I've switched podcast hosting from Spreaker to Podbean, and all episodes are now available for streaming at boundlessauthenticity.podbean.com. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast. Again, I gotta say, thanks for smashing that like button and sharing, because clearly it's working, and many thanks for that. But today's guest is returning. Zoe Malloy is a MILAB and secret space program experiencer who has been involved in covert operations since childhood, possibly even infancy. Her earliest years were surrounded by strange phenomena. Her mother recalls paranormal events, visits from mysterious hooded beings, and even agents standing silently by her crib. Haunted by visions and psychic dreams, her mother, also gifted, always sensed that Zoe was connected to something otherworldly. As Zoe grew older, her memories began to surface of being taken by military factions and reptilian beings to underground bases, subjected to training, interrogations, and dark experiments. She recalls Black Ops missions on Earth and experiences off-world, as well as traumatic involvement in the hybrid breeding program, where she later met a hybrid daughter created through her. It wasn't until recently that Zoe received a clear message from her higher self, MI5. That revelation unlocked a deeper understanding of her connection to MILAB programs. She learned she had been part of multiple operations, Delta, Beta, and others tied to elite ritualistic control systems. Despite being silenced before, her first YouTube channel erased through manipulation and harassment, Zoe is now reclaiming her voice. I know that you have a new channel now, so I'm not even going to bother reading the rest of that. Tell me about Reach for Truth. What's that about?
Yeah, so just quickly, MILAB, it just wasn't, because obviously, I'm a MILAB, as you know, and but it's not just those types of experiences I've had. I've had, paranormal, and there's like psychic elements in there, and, premonitions, and then obviously there's the whole, if you like, starseed side, which I'm trying not to use that label as much. I'm feeling like just don't feel like it's too important really. But, so there's a lot of positive experiences, and it's not just the MILAB side of things. So of course, people see MILAB gone rogue. It's like they're going to expect to just only see MILAB stuff. And, I'm a mixed bag. I don't just fit in that category. I'm fit in many. So I needed a name that reflected, all areas, but that had a deeper meaning as well. So Reach for Truth. So that's basically what my channel is about. I share my experiences to help others, reach for truth through my experiences and memories, and through others and through their own. It's just a reminder, to reach for truth. Just keep, reaching in, and try and make sense of their experiences and piece together the puzzles, either on their own or as a collective, together with other people that have had the same experiences. And we're all going through a collective consciousness spiritual awakening, regardless on what soul you want to identify with, with whatever being you want to identify with. We're all consciousness having a human experience, but we're all seeking for answers. We're all trying to reach for answers and truth within ourselves and from outside of ourselves. And so, I just felt like that was more fitting. And then that way as well, it's my channel is open for anyone that wants to come on and share their experiences, not only MILAB experiences. It could be extraterrestrial experiences, paranormal experiences, psychic experiences, because there's truth in all of that, isn't there? When there's this reality, there's so many, we're spiritual. Some of us are MILABs, some of us are psychics, some of us are mediums, and there's all truth in all of that, which helps us to see this reality for what it really is, and we start dismantling, layer by layer, the illusions, this matrix to get to the truth. And we're all collectively doing that, regardless on how profound your experiences are, regardless on so many things. We're all going to, reach to that truth, whether your voice is small or big, we're all collectively going to get there. So anyway, that in a nutshell, I just thought it was perfect. I was in the shower. I've been thinking about changing it for a while. I think I rushed into it, not really thinking when I picked MILAB Gone Rogue, although I think it's a great name. Many will have disagreed on that, because MILAB Gone Rogue implies that I am completely detached from my labs. And that's not always, it doesn't always imply that, gone rogue can imply, moving away, slowly coming away, and being a rebel and fighting out and speaking out against those that have done wrong to me. So, I've got that rebellious rogue energy about me. And oftentimes, in my memories and experiences, I am a little bit like a double agent. So unfortunately, both sides use me there's many memories where I'm sabotaging or trying to sabotage each other's, mostly the dark side. I'm sabotaging their agendas and stuff. But, like I say, the good side is very cliche. When we say good side, they're not perfect neither. And it's a bit like politics down here, you've got the red side, the blue side, and they're all fighting for power, and as a MILAB, of course, I have huge trust issues. And when you have been around these groups and when they are using you, you get to see a lot of sides to them, especially the good side, but, on a positive, I do believe and know that there are positive groups here, regardless of what names they go by, Earth Alliance, White Hats, again, it's, they're not perfect neither. Of course, and there's volunteers, envoys, souls, starseeds, if you're comfortable with that label, we're here as well to help in our own little way. And so I am optimistic, even though all my majority of my experiences are negative, especially in the MILAB. I still have faith, I still have optimism, but I am aware of these groups, black hats, white hats, whatever, again, is that power struggle. They're fighting for power, so things aren't always black and white. Let's just say, and of course it's up to anyone, listening, what it is they want to believe. But this is just from my what I've seen, what I've experienced, what I sense, what I feel, my own discernment, So yeah, not if anyone says they're part of the good side, they're not angels, They really are not. And the same, with the bad guys, there are some, a lot of infiltration. There's a lot of good people and groups infiltrating the dark side, if you like, and vice versa, and they can switch sides as well. We see this, we hear this a lot, with, governmental systems, certain individuals and power. For instance, an example, Elon Musk, okay? And he's openly admitted this. He's neither on this side or that side. He's kind of neutral. But if you watch him, he shifts. He goes to the winning side, regardless whether that's the good side or the bad side, positive side, negative side. But anyway, I'm going to start rambling on that. But yeah, and that's why I decided to change my name.
Well, I think in any case, when it comes to creativity, if you're a musician making an album, you start with demos that are imperfect and you hack away at them until you get the finished product, right? And the same is true for podcasting. Podcasting kind of takes you through a journey and you just get started with what you have and talking about where you're at with your level of awareness then. And then as you grow, things tend to grow, hopefully in a better direction. And so I see that as being what you're going through because, you can only talk about a certain issue that happened in your life so many times before you reach a point where you want to break through it, break past it, and, change your identity and your relationship to it to a more empowering one. Well, hopefully, because there's a lot of people that still go on and on about the same shit like a victim over and over. And one of the main reasons I wanted to have you back on, besides that you're super chill, is that we talk sometimes about stuff randomly. And it's like all of this is stuff that needs to be said out loud. Because I don't think that listeners, consumers of podcasts, without being insulting, are at that level of thinking where they're critically analyzing the information critically analyzing the podcaster or the guest in question and engaging in very deep thought about who they could be, what they really stand for, you know, their values, their motivations, intentions for doing this. And what we're seeing is a lot of the fakes and people who just don't have good intentions are being exposed, but still they have an audience. And there are going to be really uninitiated, unintelligent persons that are going to say, oh, well, you guys are just jealous and that's why you're saying it. And it has nothing to do with that. It's that
absolutely not.
We know that we are imperfect and we know that we have good intentions. And it has gone on for too long where the media in the mainstream has run the gamut and exploited people's gullibility and unwillingness to think, because let's put it simply, when you put on a podcast, you're usually in transit to somewhere else. You're working out, you're doing something else. And the majority of podcast consumers are not going to sit down and just watch the video and listen to the podcast at the same time and not do other multitasking type things, unless you're really, really interested in taking in all of it and you're going to sit and make notes and think about it. And even then you can get bamboozled. So I think that now, because everyone and their grandmother has a podcast, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many inauthentic voices that dilute the message of truth, because most people in any arena are just regurgitating what they have seen before. They don't actually have their own experienced and value-based opinions on what they have heard, because people are notorious for taking stuff in, accepting it as fact, repeating it, and moving on. And a good example of that is like how you have changed your association with the Starseed label. I've never liked it. It's never resonated with me. I feel like, as you correctly said, we are just consciousness having this human experience. It's largely creative, but most people will abdicate their creative potential for consumption. And that's all there is to it. That's the difference for me, the basic difference between someone who is an NPC or just unaware and someone that is a little bit more aware and awake, because I don't think anybody is fully all the way there and knows exactly what's going on. We can only say, here's exactly what I say, here's exactly what I experience, and you've got to do whatever you got to do with that. But you can't take that on board as your identity. And the Starseed thing has gone too far. The New Age is clearly a psyop. If people don't get that, and if they don't understand how psyops work, well, here's how psyops work. People take factual information, they change more than half of it to get you to play along with a game. And that's how New Age works. It takes stuff that's factual, turns it on its head. It's been co-opted by a lot of 3-letter agencies, et cetera, and now things that are universal spiritual truths are being used to manipulate you to believe a lot of nonsense that, again, deviates you from putting your attention in the right places. And most importantly, just being a good fucking person, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still figuring things out with the whole Starseed thing, because at the beginning of my Starseed awakening, if you like, you know, I had experiences and I had patterns and synchronicity and messages and you're this and that. But, you know, you've got to remember as well that, you know, those that are in the MILAB programs, oftentimes as kids from memories, you know, are handlers, those that are training us, you know, they tell us that you're special, you're unique, you know, they drill this into your head. You know, and what's the chances of being a MILAB and then a Starseed? And it's like, you know, so on my old channel, it was very Starseed this, Starseed that, you know. But I didn't want to come across as like, oh, I'm separate, I'm better than you. I still, you know, said, you know, we're all souls, regardless on what title you want to give yourself. And we all have a spiritual mission. Now, it's not to say, you know, that person's spiritual mission is less than that person's mission. We're all here as spiritual beings, here for, I believe, for many reasons. And there are souls here that are helping, for instance, me on a higher soul contract level. I believe, and some people have disagreed. And maybe it's a program. Maybe I'm still in this program. You know, I can say I'm learning new things about myself all the time. Like you say, we're not perfect. We're figuring things out. But, you know, I believe on a higher level, on a pre-soul contract level, that, you know, I came down here knowing the risks, a bit like the inside job, you know, got into these programs to kind of like help assist this collective consciousness awakening by basically sharing my experiences. I had to get into that nitty-gritty, horrible, dark side of reality down here and do things, just want to say, against my will, through mind control. I didn't openly, want to do the things that I've done, which I'll get into on my channel eventually. You know, they use us like puppets and tools, you know, and they use us for many things. I'm talking about, you know, these three-letter agency, and the MILABs and the other programs and things that go by many names. So, you know, and even if I am incorrect, and I didn't come down here purposely to get in these programs to then, you know, share my experiences, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, because with me sharing my experiences, it is helping people to realize that this reality isn't quite what they thought it was. It's helping them to dive within. It's helping them to make sense of this world and who controls it. You know, so yeah, again, regardless whether on a soul contract level I agreed to come down, you know, I am a starseed, I'm part of the envoy program, I'm down here, it doesn't matter, because, you know, I'm still here, I'm sharing my experiences. But yeah, eventually over time that label just wasn't sitting right with me. And I even went so deep in my mind and thinking, what happens if even the envoy program, that apparently a group of these positive beings that go by the Council of Light and other groups, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and that, what happens if, yeah, it's true, they did create this group, star seeds are real, me being one of them, but it's a psyop, and we're being used again, like MILAB's being used, and the whole starseed thing, we're being used to channel or download information and regurgitate it to the masses. So like I say, I'm still like, things that used to sit with me and things that used to resonate, you know, don't resonate, or I'm still in that middle stage where I'm kind of like, I don't know, something's not right here. This label doesn't fit right with me. You know, we know that there are many groups and programs and, like the Envoy program and stuff like that. Who knows? Is it a psyop? I don't know. All I can do is share my experiences, share my thoughts, my beliefs, be transparent, be authentic. And like I say, together, we're just going to have to work it out, you know, and not point fingers and you're this and you're that. Of course, I just want to mention there are many souls here that go by many labels, MILABs, starseeds, light workers. And there are a lot of them, you know, there are some negative souls. I do believe there is evil incarnate in here. Anyone can have human experience, including negative extraterrestrials, and can pretend and say they're a starseed and a light worker, you know, and then, you know, people start listening to their information and start thinking, oh, something's not right with that person. But then, because, you know, these people don't listen to these certain light workers, starseeds, if they start seeing that something's not right with them, then it makes the rest of us look bad. So that's a psyop in itself, to kind of like the positive, genuine ones here that want to help, that are part of positive extraterrestrials, because I've seen my family, we're all connected to the stars, we all have extraterrestrial DNA within us, we all have ancestors in the human sense, in the extraterrestrial sense, you know. So there's so many psyops within psyops, and it's a lot. It is, excuse my French, it's one big mindfuck. You know, ask me, I might come on here again in a year's time and it might seem like I'm contradicting myself, and it's not. We constantly shifting and changing old thoughts and beliefs that we used to have, you know, dismantle. There's so many old thoughts and feelings and beliefs that I used to have, that I used to share on my old channel. I'm not the same person anymore. You know, we're shedding our skins all the time. We're growing, we're evolving, we're learning new things and perspectives and seeing more through the illusion. The veil is thinning and thinning and thinning. And eventually we're all going to get to a place, hopefully, where we can kind of see reality for what it is. And, you know, and as well, you know, anyone that is not here, you know, for the, not here because they have humanity's best interest at heart. So those are, like you say, inauthentic, wolves in sheep's clothing, often going around saying, you know, I'm a starseed, I'm this, I'm that, I'm ascended master, this and that, and everything I say is correct, you know, or just anyone, you know, double agents down here as well. You know, I know I'm a double agent in the MILAB sense, but in my personal life, no, I'm sharing my experiences. I'm really putting myself out there, and I'm sharing things that's not particularly nice. Like I'm really, you know, revealing things about myself and things that, you know, unfortunately was out of my control. I was mind controlled, you know. But yeah, so there's so much down here and so much going on, and but you know, we're figuring it out. You know, we really are. And there was a point, but it's gone now. But yeah, we're figuring it out. We really are. But then, you know, we get accused as well. You know, if I don't believe in certain things I used to believe before, then I've been accused already. I've been accused of being a double agent, a sleeper agent, sorry. So, like I say, there are souls down here, regardless on what names, titles they want to give themselves or labels. You know, there are many in PSYOPs that are sleeper agents, meaning that they believe in who they are and what they are, the information they get. But really, they're being used by AI, reptilians, the three-letter agencies, handlers, again, to give out misinformation, disinformation, lies. But to them, they feel like it's truth. They're telling the truth. And then there are agents who identify, you know, or say they are this and that label, that are well aware of what they're doing, and they are pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. There's that as well. So it's very complex, and I'm well aware of all of it. And it, you know, so when it comes to our discernment with listening to a group or information or people, you know, it can be very confusing, even for me, even for the best of us. You know, no one is exempt from being confused and deceived and having the wool pulled over their eyes or being manipulated. Trust me, you know, I've been stung quite a few times by people who I thought I could trust, certain groups, certain YouTubers, certain information. And but anyway, I've come out of that, and yeah, it is hard, but I'm just rambling. But anyway, yeah, there's just a lot going on, isn't there?
I guess in your defense, because I've had the opportunity to talk to you more than just on the podcast, I've gotten to learn more about what you're all about on the surface, what you value, who you are, your motivations for doing this. And I have to stress this point for the listeners that being a mature person and really understanding a person means that you have to try to see them holistically. Everything that they are, how they behave, what their beliefs are, why their beliefs are propped up by certain aspects of other things, you know, their ideas, how they actually live their lives. And I've seen enough to know that you have good intentions, and you also have to understand that if you don't know someone's intentions, it's better not to assume. Actually, just ask them first. If you ask them, then that's how you're going to know that they're lying about stuff, right? And based on several factors, including their level of defensiveness or any other emotional response that they may have, and where you are at with it. You've changed your podcast name like twice, I think you've told me. And really, that has nothing to do with anything except that you haven't been doing this for very long. And using your voice and speaking about these topics has been very cathartic. It has been a form of healing. And you will find that anyone that is on a path of growth, they will change their mind. You're allowed to change your mind. And it's going in a positive direction. So there will be people that are going to say stuff, because at the end of the day, what human beings seem to want the most is to be told what to do, what to believe, how to believe it, and how to do it. And until we can have open conversations like this and really bring that to the front of the noise, then that's how we're going to get more people to begin to, I'm trying not to use the word wake up so much these days as well, too, because a lot of people are awake. They just don't want to get out of bed, you know? So you got to take the covers off and actually put your fluffy bunny slippers on and walk through the house and live your life, right? And what happens is that by now we know, or should know better. We should know that when something is a lie in society or on the internet, it's allowed to be repeated over and over and over again. We see that in the New Age mentality. We see that in the conspiracy community. We see that on CNN and Fox and the other mainstream media outlets. It's not different between mainstream and what's on the internet. There is a reason why they are allowing us to talk about this stuff so openly now. There's a reason why they're giving all of these people that were banned before their YouTube channels back. It's because what they have coming down the pipeline is so dangerous and so dark that they don't care if we're talking amongst each other anymore. They are prepared to either nuke us, enslave us totally, or any other number of tactics, including killing us all outright. Just total control. And we are not at a point now where speculation and talking about spiritual stuff and all that is going to help. Regardless of what you believe, what your background is with spirituality, religion, your experience in military or MILAB or secret space program or the 3-letter agencies or a police officer or a doctor or whatever, none of that means anything. We are FUCKED.
It's much bigger. Yeah, what they're doing and what they're trying. Well, they are currently still pushing ahead, with their agendas, the New World Order agenda. And, that while we're busy talking about the small things, to a lot of people may seem big, it's small, and they're up there like, we'll leave them, they're busy. We'll just continue distracting them and, continue making new laws and, a lot of things that, things that they've changed and things that they're implementing is kind of just like it's going over people's heads because they're too distracted talking about, Three-Eye Atlas or, I don't know, some celebrity gossip or whatever it is, distractions. And this is how they manipulate, and we fall for it. Even me, I'm guilty of it. They get me as well. I've spoke about some things that has been, things that have been happening. AI, Three-Eye Atlas, which is weird. I've always kept saying AI Atlas multiple times, but anyway, I won't get into that. But yeah, so like you say, what's a big red flag? And to know if it's a PSYOP, obviously we know the media is controlled, NASA is controlled. So NASA satellite images or, whatever they put on the media, news channels, radio stations, and that they're in control of the information. So if they're pumping all this stuff out, to me, guys, it's up to you what you want to believe. To me, that's a red flag. They will, they'll push all that in our faces. Anything that's a PSYOP, an agenda, and then the real important things, like I say, it doesn't really come to the surface as much. It doesn't get the attention that it needs, And so, yeah, like I say, they only show us what they want us to see. They only tell us what they want us to know. And yeah, there may be elements of truth in that information and what they show us. But, like I say, PSYOPs, there's a lot of hidden messages, lies, deception, misinformation, disinformation. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And of course, many of you know that already. It's not really anything new. But yeah, it's just, that's it. It's keep us busy, on things that we think's big. And really, it's tiny because they've got bigger plans.
The crazy part about it is that they know that humans don't like to disagree. And I'm a dangerous person to them because I always preach differences making us stronger. Because you can look at somebody and be like, fundamentally, I don't agree with anything that you do. And still be like, yeah, but we can build a house. We can do a podcast. We can talk about what you like, what I like, disagree on it, put it out there. And there's people that are going to listen to that. And when they see us getting along, then they're going to be like, wait a minute, well, if the two of them could get along, then I could get along with somebody else. And they know that people are just going to hold grudges based on whatever they say. This person over there is a MAGA supporter, or this person is a LGBTQ person, or this person is a Democrat, a Republican, whatever. And it's always the same people that create these organizations saying the same stuff and trying to tell you what you should believe and think and how you should behave towards other people. And it's never the quiet voices like us that are like, well, you know, at the end of the day, we all still got to fulfill our basic needs. So why put swords over somebody else's head? And it's never us that are out front, because they don't want that, because what has been lost from the world is community. We don't need the government. We need communities, because if we were all just feeding each other and helping each other raise our kids and teaching each other stuff, there would be no need for them. And so one of the biggest problems that they have is that people are now starting to realize that you can opt out of a lot of stuff. And how do you get people to not be able to opt out of something is if you get them to sign up for a digital ID or something like that, you know, like, oh, we just set it up already. We've got money for you on the system. You don't have to worry about money ever again. Are you kidding? I don't want an allowance. Isn't that the point of growing up, so that you don't have to take $5 from your parents for lunch every day? Like, cause you know, lunch costs a bit more than $5, right? So
Exactly.
Ultimately, any path of growth is supposed to lead you to individuation. And I always talk about how there was this guy that's his work has been buried and deleted from conventional psychology now, completely just erased, because Fritz Hayter is his name. In 1923 or 27 or something like that, he said that the ultimate duty of a human being is to become an individual. And as long as you, because this is when they were coming up with the idea that humans are social beings, and they wanted to put that out into the front of all the literature, and so that they could corral us into conventional schooling and things like that. So that, you know, it's all of these systems in place, all these beliefs in place, and they're coming down the pipeline from the cult of psychotherapy too. Don't ever think that they're not responsible for social engineering, because they are. They do the most of it. It's the same people, but they just wanted to distract us from our own inherent spiritual nature, our own ability to choose what we like or dislike, you know, how to feel different things are true or not true. And as long as you can blur the lines between what's actual reality and create subjectivity or create a hive mind, then you're going to keep people more apart than actually focusing on building communion. So I think that people like us are the most dangerous, and that's why we get the most problems. Like the last time we did the first episode, I never got comments like that before on anything, but there were some weird people making comments, and it's like, what I'm going to say about that before I let you talk is that people don't realize that if the internet was actually set up for us to grow and evolve based on the information that we got, then they wouldn't actually give it to us. They wouldn't allow us to have it, because empowerment is not the name of the game. So it's complete and total control of how we think, and what we do at all times. And if you're not listening to podcasts and then walking away and spending a lot of time in silence trying to figure out, well, okay, is what that person said not just resonating, but is what that person said actually factual within the context of how I live my life? Is that something I can actually use and grow from? You're screwed. Like, you're feeding the machine. But we don't have a choice at this point other than to question everything that we do every day and realize that regardless of whatever is going on, we are just about 1 foot into the cell, and they're about to shut the door behind us, you know?
Oh, yeah. Big, huge confirmation, full body tingles there. I always get that when there's truth behind words. It's like my higher self's way of just saying, yeah, you absolutely agree. Spot on. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. And And that's what they want. They want to rein us all back in. You know, they want to continue keeping ourselves from outside of ourselves. They don't want us to go within. So distractions, fear mongering, fear controls, you know, all these narratives. And, you know, we're distracted, we're busy. We haven't got time to sit. And then between those that work and have busy families, you know, we ain't got time to sit in and just have 2 minutes and just have a clear mind and, you know, and just think about things, you know, and I don't know, pull apart information, analyze, use critical thinking, just question things, you know, because people are too busy about, you know, trying to find a job or, you know, worrying about how they're going to put the next meal on the table to feed their kids and stuff. All of this is all by design. It's all deliberate. Because what happens when we go within? It is when we start healing, we start question ourselves and the nature of reality and what's going on in the world. We start questioning. We start asking those questions, and they don't want us to, you know. And then obviously in the mix of all that, you know, they start telling us, you know, there's still the mind control, mind programming, which they do through movies. You know, a lot of lies within certain movie genres, for instance, I don't know, alien stuff, sci-fi stuff. They paint all the aliens as bad. And, you know, there's a movie, in fact, that I actually watched. I might share that with you, actually, that little experience. It's called Extinction. It's very interesting. It's an eye-opener. Have you seen that movie before? It's okay. I'll send you or just look it up if you want. But basically, I was in bed watching this Extinction movie, and I'm just going to show you what unfolded and what happened. So basically, what this movie is about, there's this guy, and you know, he has a family, he works in the city. You know, he's a normal guy, you know, just normal average person. And he starts having these dreams, these nightmares and dreams, and almost like premonitions of, you know, these spacecrafts coming down and descending. And, you know, everyone's freaking out and running from all these, you know, invasion, these UFOs. So, of course, you know, he starts telling his girlfriend, his friends. And of course, they think, you know, he's tired, he's just stressed at work, you know, he's thinking too much into it. You know, again, the old programs, people are programmed up to the backsides, aren't they? To, you know, there's no such thing as any of that, because that's not possible. It's just something out of the sci-fi movies. Anyway, so moving forward, cutting it short. So basically, it happens. He has a family around, they're having drinks, and all of a sudden, you know, they're standing out at the balcony looking out to the sky and seeing all these lights coming down, descending. And obviously, you know, they realise it's UFOs. As it turns out, it's actually, I'll probably give it away for those that want to watch it and haven't watched it, but basically, it's the government pretending to be these extraterrestrials in their, you know, reverse engineered ships. And all these people are thinking it's aliens. Until one of the aliens reveals itself, and it's actually a human. It's one of them. It's one of us. But anyway, what was interesting is, you know, I was watching it, and the part where the ships descend, I kid you not, I've got a street light outside my window started flicking and going crazy, which caught my attention with all these lights going on in the movie, like it was parallel. And I remember just looking. You know, I am very rational. I am very logical. I don't believe everything's woo-woo. You know, as you know, I've mentioned that a lot in my channel. Like, my ego has a hard time sometimes, a lot of the time, with these experiences. That's the human ego that we all have. And I was like, oh, okay, that's strange. So anyway, I get up, I go to the bathroom, sit down, and the bathroom light starts flickering and going crazy above my head. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? I didn't have my phone, otherwise I would have recorded it. Anyway, I still didn't want to believe it was anything. You know, that's typical me. But that's part of the programs, you know, that, again, because they know the MILABs are coming to my memories, and they don't want me to believe in these memories. So again, that's implants and programs. I'm always up against. So I'm always like questioning, you know, did that experience really happen? You know, and my experiences are very real, and but I still have a hard time, you know, accepting sometimes that they are real. Anyway, so after the toilet, I go downstairs, go into the kitchen, and guess what? the kitchen light starts going crazy. And I'm like, what's going on? So for me, that tells me that is confirmation that, and many of us know, we know about Project Bluebeam. We know that they're going to try and attempt with the whole alien threat, not necessarily fake alien invasion. I think a lot of us are past the point, at the point now of like, well, we know the agendas, but are the government still going to go down that line, knowing that majority of us are waking up and knowing that is part of their plan agenda? I don't know. Maybe they will go ahead with it still. I don't know. But to me, like I say, it was almost like confirmation. Like, yeah, we're still on that timeline. That could still happen. Not necessarily how the movie depicts, but with the whole fake alien threat, which is why Three Eye Atlas has been a big thing at the minute. Again, it's the controlling that narrative. Many people with Three Eye Atlas believe that it's a positive shit. Many believe it's a psyop. Many believe that these images that NASA is showing, because they are showing, are fake. Many are saying it is. It's a real. It's full of negative beings. But anyway, I shared my my experience, my beliefs on that anyway over on my channel. But yeah, so it's just insane, isn't it? And there was another point to that, but my mind's just gone. So, but of course, it's up to anyone to believe what they want, even when when I share my experiences. It's just so weird. But yeah, but they are the deep state, the cabal, whatever. They still are pushing for these types of agendas. The amount of times I've woken up from dreams, or I've had memories of being in the future, because many people know MILABs. They project our consciousness, especially in the Montauk program, which I do believe is still there, but it's under a different name now. But they still do that. They hook us up to machines. They can use our consciousness to project us into the future, into the past. Of course, many of you know time's not linear. So, it's everything happens all simultaneously. But yeah, they were, I've had many, experiences, visions, dreams of, I am outside, just living life, and all of a sudden there's all these UFO ships coming down. And I'm thinking, am I being used for that as well? Have they put those as in false memories, false experiences in my mind, knowing that I'm going to share them? And then what does that do? It creates fear to the mass, to people, So, I don't know. I just share my experiences. Like I say, I don't have any agendas. I'm not purposely, deliberately trying to create fear or make people think a certain way. I just share my experiences, and I always say, just take what resonates and leave the rest. And I even know with my memories and experiences, some of them are real experiences, and I believe in the mix there is false memories. They've put memories into me to make me believe that I was actually doing some of these certain things, or I was actually hearing that as well. So, yeah, like I say, it's just they mess with everyone on every level. And, it is hard. It is hard to, my discernment struggles at times. It really does, to get to the truth. Hence my channel, Reach for Truth, because I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep questioning myself, my beliefs, those that take me. I'm going to question my memories, my experiences, the lot. And I think we all need to.
There's a lot of stuff that we actually publicly need to address and put pressure on. And it has to be outside of the traditional realm of just blaming the government, because we are the ones that abdicate. We are the ones that give up our power to them. They don't have to do anything for us. Even their legislation on its head isn't even fully legal under their legal system that they have built. There's loopholes, and we don't actually even have to conform to any of it. And if everybody knew that, or I should say could comprehend that is just a hard, cold fact and not a fabrication. If they could break their brainwashing and their conditioning, their fear-based conditioning, because how they prop that up is by punishing you when you don't believe in the lie. That's why the police and everything exists. That's why the military exists, because they can then say, oh, well, we don't actually have to show you the legislation. We don't actually have to show you what the law books say. We're just going to lock you up because we're right and you're wrong. And most people will go along with that. But we need to step away from looking at things like that. Start asking, why is there an obvious organization trying to control the weather and spraying us with nanoparticulates every single hour of every single day? And who benefits from that? For what reason? Well, I can tell you that they can put thoughts in your head, whether you're asleep or awake. They can do it to anyone. And the reason why they are geoengineering, which is the correct term, because when you say chemtrails, people run away because they know, they know
sounds
that,
ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, they know there's something really serious going on behind chemtrails. And so they run away because the media tries to discredit that term chemtrail. But within the realm of science, which people seem to praise, it's called geoengineering. And why are they doing that? Because using those, especially chemical compounds like aluminum nanoparticulates, you can then set up a complex network the same way you would if you had 5G towers in every neighborhood to send signals from station to station. You can send it broadcast through those nanoparticulates to people's skulls. And this is why tinfoil hats have always been a point of ridicule in the conspiracy community by the mainstream, because that's what the guys wearing the tinfoil hats were trying to say, that aluminum can essentially, or like a Faraday cage can essentially, any steel structure or anything like that that you erect can block these waves. But without it, they can broadcast from across the sky the same way that they do traditional radio technology, using these nanoparticulates to your cell phone, which is in the room with you, and use all those various electromagnetic frequencies to put things into your mind. And I know that for many that will still sound far-fetched, because it's unfortunately your own dependence on the idea being far-fetched. But yet you can watch a TV show where that's happening and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, within the realm of the TV show. Well, life is a television show. It's kind of like the Truman Show example, where Jim Carrey's character realizes that he's been living inside of this orchestrated simulation. He was born into it, literally. So he's been an actor his whole life. And all these things that he thought were organic were actually just fabricated beforehand for him to experience. So why what you just said is disturbing to me is because in passing, a couple of people have said to me that the TV told them, the news, CNN told them that there's going to be full disclosure and that aliens have been around for a long time and that they know this and that they have seen the crafts and that they're allegedly shooting down these planes and different things like that. And they're expecting that there's going to be an alien attack. And they're doing it in small increments like that. And I just kind of said, oh shit, so they're really going for it. They're really going to do the blue beam type thing. They're really going to stage a fake alien invasion using back engineered technology that they created. The militaries of this world, Lockheed Martin and all those that are involved in that stuff, Raytheon, all that, the military industrial complex is going to stage this fake invasion because the government said to do it. And that's a fundamental thing that people need to get through their heads too. If you are a part of the military personnel and you're listening to this podcast right now, why are you blindly following orders? Just because somebody said so and they'll discharge you and threaten to make your life difficult? There's strength in numbers. They can't make everybody's life difficult all at once. If everybody says, okay, you know what? This is not what I signed up for. I didn't sign up to victimize my family and my friends and the general population of the world, chances are you signed up to do good. And so whatever your overlords, your military instructors and controllers and handlers are telling you, it ain't good. It ain't doing good. It's not helping
They're
anybody.
using you. They're using you.
Yeah. But why are you complicit with that? What inside of you needs to change for you to realize that you are part and parcel of humanity's enslavement? You should be protecting us, not doing things that go on to hurt in the long run. Is it even worth going through that just for a paycheck and a guaranteed stymie from the government for the rest of your life? Look at how veterans get treated in America. Look at how they get treated in the UK. Not well, and I am saying that because
discarded. It's like, we're done with you now. We just discard you now. And 9 times out of 10, where do they end up? On the streets.
My uncle did. My uncle.
Like, thank you. There you go. And then they struggle, and a lot of them, take their own lives as well. It's just awful.
Yeah, my uncle did. My uncle, I'm not biased. My uncle was a really good person. He would take his shirt off his back, and has been like, some of his military buddies and stuff have told stories about him actually literally doing that in like Cambodia and other places, like just seeing somebody that was poor and he just gave them all of his stuff, right? He grew up being like that. And the military exploits good people like that, because those are the ones that get in it thinking I can make a change. And then when they get there, they realize they're too deep to get out,
Well, this is why I believe, again, another experience I shared, it's on my channel, it's called Military Outdoors, and it was basically an experience. Again, I was projected in the future, or because I can do that myself. Yes, I'm a MILAB. Yes, they control me. Yes, they put me in the future and that, but, or past, whatever. But, we have our own abilities as well. So in my private, personal life, I do. If I want to remote view, I will. If I want to have an astral travel experience, I will. If I want an OBE, out-of-body experience, I will. If I want to visit a younger version of myself, to be a guide to the younger version of me in the past, because everything has a ripple effect. Just like my higher self is guiding me in this timeline. We're multidimensional. We're here, there, and everywhere. So, oh damn it! I've lost my train of thought again. I'm really struggling. It's like I'm there, and then it's wiped, which to me that usually means they don't want me to share what it is I was going to share, which is very annoying. And I sense them. Like I say, I don't. It is annoying. I have implants. They do. I have experienced B2K, voice to skull, in that, and it's like they're just like, no, they cut that off, whatever it is I was going to say, and it's annoying. But
you were talking about how you can visit the future and do different things on different timelines and stuff, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, so they don't want me to speak about this. Yeah, that makes sense now. Why my mom is just like gone. Yeah, so I shared it on my channel anyway, guys. Military at my door, meaning the UK, and I'm not sure it's not just the UK, but basically, many of we've got a lot of Muslims, Islamic type people here that are crossing our borders, which was by design by our own governments. And it's not just England or the UK, it's America, it's Australia, it's everywhere. And they're bringing all these, working age young men, no families, no children, just these men, and they're putting them in these hotels, giving them brand new phones. They're having cooked meals every day. They're first in line to get a dentist appointment, a doctor's appointment. It's a little bit sketchy. And then, and also as well, they're on the streets and they are causing havoc. They are RAPing, if you know what I mean, young children, vulnerable. They are provoking and quite literally taking the lives of women. Women aren't safe to walk the streets. They're walking around in crowds, these Islamic terrorists causing terror attacks and stuff like that. And but anyway, so you were talking about the military, being controlled and stuff like that. So I've had many memories where the military have basically, like, they've got to the point where it's like enough's enough. They don't want to be controlled anymore, and they quite literally are taking their uniforms off, throwing their the badges and whatever, on the floor, as if to say, no, we are not doing what you were doing. So from my experiences and memories, this is why they're bringing in these Islamic terrorist refugees in, because, they're happy to go around, following orders. They're going to get money. They're going to get whatever they want, And so I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope it doesn't manifest. But, how things are looking, I just feel like they're just going to be let loose on the street, and they're just going to cause havoc. And it's like, then, it's just insane. And it's part of the New World Order. I mean, agenda, they're using them for that as well. And possibly might even be martial law and things like that. But I don't know, we'll have to see. But it's just all very sketchy. But, I do feel, and I have seen, already, I saw a TikTok video of many UK veterans and military men, personnel, literally standing outside the, like the Queen's Palace, if you like, the Royal Palace. And they are just, some of them are protesting, a lot of them are just completely stripping and taking everything off them, and they're like just spitting. And like, we don't want no part of this. We don't want to be controlled anymore. You've used us, and that. So, they're waking up as well. So that's a good thing. But it's worrying at the same time, because if shit hits the fan and all these terrorists start running around in America, in England, in Australia, where's the military? Who's going to protect us?
Well, you see, along with that goes with the breakdown of the family system and the destruction of what a real man is. Because back in the day, if the government showed up with all this crap, real men would chop their fucking heads off before they even got to the village, right? And so that's why they've done so much to destroy the stereotypical masculine roles, because men are supposed to be doing that. So I would say the answer to your question is that all men everywhere go down to the hardware store and get a few machetes and whatever you can find to make weapons, because you need to defend your families. Are you capable of defending your family, failing the military's ability to protect you from some threat? Don't wait, right? That you have to be on that level. That's, what my family's, like my grandfather and their generation who fought in the military and stuff like that, they all understood that. Their forefathers before them all understood that. But it seems like the younger generations beyond that are so conditioned to believe that violence is wrong. You shouldn't stand up against authority because you'll get, it's not worth it because you'll go to jail. Well, you can opt out of that too, because doing the right thing is doing the right thing at the end of the day. And more of us need to assert ourselves as men in this time where they're actually going to do that. And the problem with the immigration narrative is that, again, it's repetitive. It's based on Alfred Korzybski's psychological concept of general semantics, which means that symbols like flags, repetitive slogans are used to convince someone who is born in a particular location that their location is somehow superior, tied to their identity, and is everything except for a fragment of consciousness in a human body, sharing an experience with a bunch of people who are also born in that location, that there are no borders except for what exists in cartography on a map, and that everyone is actually entitled to move freely throughout the world as they see fit. So what they're doing is they are getting people who they know, because they know that they're threats, they know that they're psychologically damaged, etc. They're criminals. They have a propensity for a certain destructive behavior, i.e. raping and pillaging and all those kinds of things, because intelligence agencies, military establishments, governments, all know how to profile people just by looking at them. And they say, okay, well, is this person a criminal? Let them in. Is this person a good person? Don't let them come in, right? They've set up this elaborate system. And what people don't understand is that before this elaborate system of control was set up, we moved around freely. Nobody was worrying about anything. They tell you all these stories about Columbus, etc. And even that historical perspective, that narrative which a lot of it is actually fabricated, then they teach you that at school. And so you believe that people were going to other places around the world and just raping and killing and pillaging and stealing stuff. Governments were not that advanced back then. They didn't have that stronghold, right? And so there's so much contradicting information. I did history up to university level, and I stopped because I was like, wow, this is a lot of bullshit. And I actually had a lot of good history teachers that went against the grain, and they got into a lot of trouble saying that, hey, you shouldn't be telling these kids that this part is questionable or whatever. You should just make them regurgitate. So I think that history is another one of those things that has been used along with our psychology to keep us believing that immigration is wrong and it must be policed and things like that, when you actually have the criminal organization known as government orchestrating all of this stuff. And they make it very difficult for people with good intentions to travel because their goal is to keep whatever population that they have under their thumb in the respective country under control by using fear of the other. But yet you can get a tourist visa and go somewhere and visit, and you will hardly see very much criminal activity at all to suggest. And people don't put two and two together, right?
Yeah.
It is just crazy how dumb this stuff really is. And everybody just goes along with it. And I want to break that narrative because there's nobody in this world that is separate and distinct from you as an individual. Yeah, some people might be scumbags, but it's to your point about evil incarnate. There's going to be bad and good in this world. And it's for you to grow as a person so that you can actually tell the difference. Where in your life do you give of your energy thinking that you're doing something good or supporting a good belief that actually leads to the perpetuation of evil? Are you asking yourself these higher level questions? I can guarantee that a lot of people aren't, because there's a lot of people on the street. You try to tell them this stuff, explain it to them, and they just they glitch out. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. The TV told me, or my teachers told me. That's the biggest thing that we have to fight against: general unwillingness to question.
Yeah. Yeah, and with me, obviously, I say obviously, people won't know, but I'm sure you've watched probably some of my stuff. But yeah, so MILABs, these groups, MI5, first ones, I believe, were one of the first ones to have their hands on me. Kind of makes sense, I'm England, and they do work alongside with MI6, and then of course, and the three-letter agencies, they're all the same. They just got their own little areas. But they had their hands on me since I was a kid. Like I say, from according to my mom, since I was an infant, she doesn't understand who and what they were. She just knew they were agents. You question, you're like, well, why me? What makes me? I don't know, what are they seeing in me? And then, I did have certain abilities as a kid, as we all do, but my abilities were really tuned in, open. I won't go into the different types of abilities. Well, let's just say I had some certain abilities. And I always thought maybe is it that's why they took me, because I flagged the matrix grid, like, oh, who's this? We can't have someone like her with these abilities, we'll just take her and we'll use her in that. Or were my abilities open because they've been taking me and activated me and done all this stuff because, of course, I am, I have alters, clones, and they put me in certain programs to do certain missions. And some of my memories are of me using my abilities. So did they, what's that word? Augment? I can't say that word, but, switch them on, switch my abilities on, advance them, do you know what I mean? Is that making sense? So it's like, what came first, the apple what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it they store my abilities? Because obviously there's eyes and ears everywhere. You're on this planet, you're in the matrix, nothing gets past them, Oh, we can't have that kid running around doing that, which I did have witnesses, family included and partners. And that's why they took me. But then, like I say, according to my mum, there was agents in my room since I was a kid. And so is my abilities because, like I say, they were messing with me. I don't know. But yeah, like I say, my point is, it's like, I didn't willingly, you know, I never was in the military in my personal life. They tried to manipulate me into getting into the military. And let's just say there was divine intervention. It never happened. But as it turns out, yeah, they got me in the military because I have memories of me being in the military, being in the barracks, being in the training grounds, you know, doing the, you know, like climbing ropes, pushing huge wheels, you know, like massive rubber wheels and things like, you know, training and stuff like that. I have these memories. So, yeah. But my point is, it's like, I never willingly like, oh, yeah, you know, oh, I'll sign the dotted line. You know, it was all under mind control or drugs, a lot of drugs. And I'm at the point now where I have revoked some of my contracts through some help. And, you know, I'm trying to just get rid of them all. Well, how can you, I'm up against all these groups. And I'm just one of many MILABs, you know, up against these big groups. They mind wipe me. They have done the amount of times I've had all my memories and then they're not there. I realise that, you know, so basically I know when they wipe my memories because, you know, one day it's like, I don't remember nothing. I don't remember who I am, what I am. I get in deep, dark depression. And then slowly but surely those memories come back. And it's like, it's always like a reawakening. And then I'm realising who I am. Oh my God, I'm a MILAB. I'm in these programs. I'm having memories, real-time memories, flashes, flashbacks, PTSD, dreams, visions. Start sharing my experiences, and then, you know, somewhere down the line, you know, they take me again, put me in a chair, raise my memories again with drugs, injections, and so I'm up remembering, and then when I'm quiet, it's because I'm lost again because of the mess with my memories. It's so bizarre, and it's getting less and less. But you know, this is how they fight me. So how can I, on my own, perhaps with some friends, I know some healers, you know, whatever, like how do I? You know, people say to me, you know, one, they don't trust me. I don't blame them. You know, I'm working for them, not willingly. I'm being controlled. You know, they're giving me ultimatums. They do all sorts. They threatened me, interrogated me. But you know, I don't want to work for them. You know, people say, oh, friends, you're giving your power away. You're giving your power away. I'm like, well, that's fine. You keep saying that. Well, tell me how to get away from them. Unless you can give me that information, you're just not helping. You know, again, I repeat myself, you know, we're up against all these groups and organizations and three-letter agencies. But, you know, but then, you know, obviously there are people that willingly sign these contracts, whether in the military or not, you know, they willingly sign these contracts and they're well aware of what they're doing and deceiving in the psyops and stuff like that. And it's hard because, you know, I get mixed energy on my channel when I share my experiences. People question me. And I say that, yes, question me. I question my experiences. I question what I believe and understand. Question. But, you know, don't shoot the messenger. Don't come for me. You know, I'm innocent in this as well. You know, I'm putting myself on a platform and telling people all this information. You know, some people appreciate that. And, you know, they give me this sympathy. And I say, I don't want to be the victim. I don't want sympathy. But, you know, people understand. They see me for me. And then, of course, there's people, oh, she's a sleeper agent. She's an agent. She knows what she's doing, you know. But you know, you get to a point where it just has to go over your head. Because I am sensitive, you know. I used to let people's words and judgments affect me, especially on my old channel, and it caused me to shrink my light. It caused me to not share my experiences anymore. And now, you know, words. It's just like water's off a duck's back, really. I say 9 times out of 10, I still get triggered sometimes because I'm going to defend myself. Because it's like, you don't know me, you're judging me, you don't know what I go through. You know, yeah, on my old channel, which it would be 3 years old now, people saw all that side that a lot of MILABs don't want to show because they're in their ego. They want to be all put together and everything's right and, you know, and they're in control and this and that whilst making, you know, thousands, hundreds of pounds off their books and, you know, and things like that. And like literally people saw the amount of times I used to cry in my experiences because I'd literally have a memory or an experience and then come out of that and immediately I'd upload it. And so people see me in some right states. You know, a lot of MILABs, they don't show that vulnerable side to themselves, you know. I'm not saying if MILABs don't show that side to themselves that they can't be trusted, of course, but, you know, that's all I'm doing. I'm sharing my experiences and people can just, you know, you can't, people have got their own, you know, free will. They've got their own beliefs and stuff like that, you know, and yeah. But I want people to know that, you know, I didn't willingly participate in these things that these groups have made me do. It, you know, it's awful. It's affected my life. I have health issues, severe complex PTSD, and some other things that I won't go into because of what they've put me through. You know, I'm not going to sit here and glorify and romanticize and I'm cool, I'm this, I'm that, and oh, I was on this mission, I was wearing this, and, you know, like turning yourself into a movie or for ego. I see a lot of that, and this is why I detached from that, because it's just like you're selling yourself, you know? Well, anyway, I went off on a rant there, didn't I? But yeah, I was like, I need to obviously get that out, you know?
Yeah, essentially everything you just said is like a mini masterclass on how to tell a real SSP or MILAB experience from a fake. Because one of the things I can say is that I've come across a lot of people that are like mind controlled in various ways, possible MKUltra, targeted people, people who've just been abducted to be sold off into cults, sexual trafficking, different things like that. And it's hard to deal with them because you realize that the ones that are authentic, they really don't even know, like they don't make much of a connection between what's happened to them and some organization doing it to them. Also, like in your case and like Olivia James, for example, very lucid, very, very lucid, very, very well put together and able to communicate the issues and stuff and say what's going on. There is a normal emotional reactions, normal inflections in their voices when they speak, very little embellishment or fabrication of storylines. When you put them into trances and stuff like that, it is the same experience as if there was let's say a traumatic event from childhood where you go back to a memory and the memory is like a picture, a Polaroid picture that you can actually work with. And that's how the imprint shows up. And you can actually disarm the emotions that are connected to the imagery itself. And that's how you can determine whether it's a real event or something imagined. Because if it's something imagined, there's not going to be hysterics or like anger and things like that attached to it when you try to talk about it, right? But in people who are fake, they tend to get very hysterical when you begin to probe on certain issues, because then their behavior changes to defense, where it's like, okay, why do you think I'm lying? So there's a difference, because if there's a government cap on it or something, or a programming filter put over the top of it through, let's say, MKUltra conditioning or something like that, person will get defensive in a different way and start not wanting to go there because they know what's behind that, because the programming on top of that is going to be protective of that. So it will be a totally different type of defense. And so, you know, this leads me to the very last section of this podcast that I wanted to talk about, like fake people out there. Like I told you, I had an experience with the one guy that thinks that he's the story of Stranger Things. And you know, I've said it many times to other people. There's no way that this big former criminal that sold cars to the mafia basically is living the same life as an 11-year-old girl. What's her name now? Elle or something like that in Stranger Things?
11. Yeah. I can't say anything on that because I interviewed him and he's on my channel and he might see this, so I can't say anything.
I wouldn't ask you to participate, but I am in control of my channel and I can say that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, share away, share your beliefs and that.
And so I disconnected from that person. I took down the episode because while there may be truth in what this person is saying and what their experience is, it is very difficult to prove that the Duffer Brothers have taken one individual person's story and tried to monetize that in the form of a television show. Now, what Stranger Things actually does is it discloses that the Montauk Project and other type experiments are real. They have happened and they continue to happen. But when a person is mind controlled with and programmed with a persona, there's often thousands of people who are programmed with that persona. So, for example, in this instance, Duncan Cameron, the name Duncan Cameron is synonymous for years with various conspiracy type videos and stuff like that. So there are so many people out there that can say, oh, yeah, well, I'm the real one. And you have other people like, in fact, I'm not even going to call no names, but there's other people out there that are claiming to be a part of the program as well on podcasts that are saying that they are that guy or they've seen that guy and they were in experiments with that. And that is how you can tell that that's a fabrication too. You can tell that that's not the truth because like in your instance, are you able to really recall any specific names or personas that you were programmed with?
Nope.
Exactly.
Not even name tags. I remember a few of my experiences, the same type of experiences. So I was taken from my bed, drugged. I've got a base as well, a military base, literally 10 minutes from where I live. I've always got military helicopters, I don't know what the specific ones, the ones with the 3 propellers, the big ones with the camouflage. I can't remember the names of them. But yeah, they're always going over. So I suspect, and also just quickly, and I'll answer what your question. I pretty much lived 10 or 15 minutes away from this base. I had no idea. I only realised last year or the year before that I had this base 10 minutes away from me. And you know what? They've got a symbol of like a dragon and stuff. They even says something dragon and then the name of the base. Well, when I was a teenager, all of a sudden overnight, I kept drawing and sketching dragons. Memory. Oh, I've got the chills. Anyway, I'm going off on one. But so I don't know if it was... I know, obviously, all the military bases, they're all connected. They've got tunnels. So whether they took me to that one or not, or elsewhere, I don't know. But anyway, my point is, many times they're taking me to like underground facilities, like clinic type places. There's always a man in a lab coat, 2 military personnel either side. I'm kind of slumped, being held up because obviously I'm drugged, or I'm standing because I'm kind of able to stand, and there's like a nurse at the side of me. And I always, because I'm very lucid. So a lot of the time, I remember it's real. Like I remember everything. And so I try and get the name on the tag, but because I'm still got the drugs in my system and my eyes are like cloudy and I'm like this, I can never see the name. Or even if I probably did, they might have just erased that. But no, I don't. I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have names of people that, have done these things to me. It's not one name.
Incredibly rare for a person to be able to recall any names and things like that. Faces can be quite commonly recalled. Experiences in quite deep detail can be recalled. But in order to be certain about their own identity and what that persona was called in like Delta programming and things like that, it's very difficult because oftentimes they aren't even actually names. Oftentimes, as you would know, it's just ritual abuse and insults and shaming and guilting and different things that are used to break the psyche. It's not, that they'd be like, okay, well, now that we've broken you, we're going to give you this particular name. So in terms of the Duncan Cameron thing, it is more or less an archetype that they've created. There's other names too that are thrown around as well. But where I was also going with that is that because I have experience with working with people in trance and stuff like that, I'm also listening through that filter of a seasoned practitioner and know exactly what imagery and what language is being used. And the thing about it is that once you begin to remember that you were a part of something, at the very beginning, it doesn't even occur to you that it was an organization or a group of people doing it to you. Because a lot of the times, it's like you were saying, it's you had a base right next to where you were at. You didn't even put two and two together. And many of the people I've worked with, they didn't even draw a correlation between their parents and their neighbors being a part of it, right? Like they still, automatically thought, this is my mom and this is my dad, and these are my neighbors, or this is my pastor. These are the people that are involved in it. It's your local town police, your doctors, your lawyers, your pastors, your parents, the neighbors, the goody two shoes that work down the street at the freaking, I forget what the name of that thing is. I think one person had it. It was someone that they were accustomed seeing at the Goodwill, actually. So someone that was in their environment that they saw often, that was like a handler, right? And they would think, this is just a harmless old lady, is what I'm saying. And so in a lot of instances too, like with this guy, you can't question certain things. And he's so certain that whatever happened to him happened, but you can't question certain things. And there's instances in his experience where there's a particular family member that he doesn't want to admit is a handler or a part of the operation, things like that. But if...
See, sorry, just quickly, like for me, my mum's ex-partners, they were my handlers. And guess what? They're all in the military.
Yeah, if a person doesn't want to go there, there's nothing you can do for them. And like I said, if a person is getting hysterical and like has only worked a couple of times with a hypnotherapist or something like that, then that's not enough evidence to go around making broad-based claims. Just having a couple of memories and saying, okay, well, now today I remember more stuff, but you don't want to talk about it. That's not how survivors of the phenomenon behave. So there's a lot of fakery and fuckery out there. There's a particular guy that likes to dress like a dandy that I'm not going to call his name either, but he organizes conferences. You probably know who I'm talking about. He dresses in all these funny colors, purple and yellow and all this kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
That, pretends to be such a spiritual person. That is inculcated in several instances with molestation, extorting women, using sex and money and different things like that. And there's a lot of fakery and fuckery going on in the podcasting community too. One of the reasons why I got this podcast episode so late was because somebody else was telling me some other drama, and they were talking for like an hour about some other stuff that's happened to them with another person that's fake and probably involved in witchcraft and all this kind of stuff. And it is tearing these truth communities apart with bad behaviors. You have people who are fundamentally bad and have bad intentions, pretending to be progenitors of the light, progenitors of truth, and trying to exploit good people for money and different things like that. There's a lot of this stuff is going on, and people need to be careful. I remember I sent you a message, and this served as a great example. Candace Rifkin, come at me again, bitch. She just sent me a message out of the blue. I sent you these screenshots, and she's like, "Are you familiar with with 20 and back?" It's not even using good English, first of all. So I don't know, what is this person's level of mental stability? And she says, "You were on one. I remember you." And I said to her, I was never on any such thing, because I know for a fact, having done the work, I've never been a part of any of that. I've been targeted in other ways because of my involvement with the music industry. And I've recently been open about those things on other podcasts, little snippets here and there. But I've never been a part of that particular program. So they're like, "You just don't remember." And I said, "Look, lady, there's nobody out there that can tell me what I remember from what I don't." She's like, "They have technology to make you forget. Have you ever seen Men in Black? You remember the neuralizer? It's real." And I was like, you need to find a hobby. Okay. So there's all of these people who are fake experiencers of stuff, and they're coming at you with a lot of crazy on the internet. Nobody that was a part of the program is going to bombard you with nonsense like that, because they
No, absolutely not. No.
how it's all set up, right? And you find typically, like, drawing a parallel between the guy I was talking about before and this, it's very self-focused, very oriented about their experience, and they swear to God that this thing happened. There's no rationality to it whatsoever. It's very self-centered, and if you don't buy in, then it's a problem. You get nasty and they block you, or all that kind of stuff. So people need to be armed with this information and realize that there's a lot of stuff out there that doesn't make sense, that goes along with it. And it causes problems for people like you and the others that are legit, that feel driven to share this information for the sake of where we're at in the human timeline right now, where things are not looking good. This information has to come out, right? Anyway, I've talked a lot.
It's everything you're saying is important. I just want to quickly say, like, with the whole evidence thing, that's a psyop in itself. Those with big channels, I'm going to say name, like Elena Danaan and some other ones, I won't say their name. They attacking, MILABs like me, and saying to people, basically, belittling us, making us look ridiculous, and that we're just, I don't know, jumping on the bandwagon, we're wannabes with this and that. Oh, they've got no evidence. The real ones have got evidence. I'm like, no, it's the opposite. How does that even make sense? The whole of these groups and the MILABs is supposed to be all secret. Yeah, secretive. We're not supposed to have memories. Yes, I have memories. Are they all correct? Are they implanted memories? Real experiences in the mix as well. But and of course, we're like, healing and stuff, and there's many ways you can retrieve memories anyway. Obviously, that it's your field of work. But when it comes to like names and photographs and things like that, that should make people think. They've got technology to mess with the cameras. They can take you out of time and put you back in time. And, to everyone else, including yourself, you wouldn't even know time's passed and you've been gone for days or hours or 20 years or whatnot. They've got this technology. They're not going to be sloppy and be like, oh, we'll just drop Zoe off in bed. Or while we're at it, we'll just put a few photos next to her, so she can see, so she can share it to everyone. Because if anything, that's a red flag. If I did have photos and was sharing it to people, so the people saying that they've got evidence and stuff, which I want to just say, many people like the likes of Elena Danaan and Tony Rodriguez and Jean, whatever his name, that French guy, they've got no evidence. They've got no, proper evidence. Where's the evidence? And whilst they sit there and they take the piss out of people like me for not having evidence. Occasionally, they might see some aircrafts fly over on the conferences. That's probably CIA, three-letter agencies. That's probably there. To make these people that are clearly in psyops look real, believable. And people are like, oh, they must be real, because they said that these UFOs were going to fly over on this exact day and exact time. And whoa, look, everyone looks to the sky and there's all the aliens, all the ships. Yes, it's our family. Yes, it's the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Come on, guys. It's just blatantly obvious. They're not going to leave a trail of any genuine evidence. All we have is our memories and our words. That's all we have. And if anyone happens to come into some information, which happens, it's rare, what happened to that person? They get taken out every time. It just absolutely blows my mind. And these people are giving their power away to these people. Let's say they're Starseed and MILAB, part of the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and they're of high importance, and they are high priestess this, and they are this and that, and only listen to my information. Everyone else's information. They're liars. They're copying. They're this. They're that. You know, these are the people you've got to watch. And it blows my mind that people are still in the comments, you know, and going to these conferences and paying their ridiculous amounts of money. You know, when they're showing like 10-minute clips, and then they'll title the video, "This is an important update. This is important information for humanity." You know, I'm sorry, but if it's that important, information like that should be free. You shouldn't have to pay $45. It's like an occult, you know, to listen to the rest of this very important information. Like, and people are just like, they're just not seeing it. You know, people like you and I, of course, you know, we do. It's just blatantly obvious. You know, who are the fakes and phonies, and who's being used, and who's in psyops, and who's agents. You know, I've got, my channel's tiny. Fair enough, it's this channel was only 5 months old. I'm currently at 250, but to me, it's not about numbers. It's not competition. You know, it's not about standing out. I don't want to be on the likes of Michael Saller's channel or anyone's channel like that. I'd rather be on people's channel like you, real, authentic people. I'm not going to be here, there, and everywhere on these big channels. And not that they'd want me on anyway, but I'll tell you what, if my subscribers do get high enough, they'll probably be like, "Oh, let's have her on my channel because she'll make me look good, make my channel look good, you know, help me build my channel." You know, they're all users. Don't want any part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You look at like Gaia TV and Cosmic.
Oh, God, yeah.
That, and there's people out there that really worship that stuff and think that the people that you see on there are like authentic people that you have to worship and take all their information as fact. And there's another huge co-opted psyop going on there as well. And I can freely say that because I've had guests who've been on Gaia TV that have told me in private that it's a sham. It's a bullshit operation, and they found out after the fact, and that they're sorry that, you know, they even got involved in the first place.
And being treated badly as well. Treated badly. Yeah.
So like, you know, it's just, I just don't even care anymore, Zoe. Honestly, like where I'm at, the amount of stuff that I've talked about over the years and just been fully transparent with, because truth is important. I'm not afraid of anybody threatening to sue me or say whatever. Like, I understand how the system works, and I opt out. I'm not buying into it because that will just be more proof. If I get attacked, it will be more proof that what I'm saying is right. And
exactly,
I always put
because they don't just attack anyone, you know. Yeah,
they don't attack the big name people. So if they're attacking me, there's something I'm saying that's right.
Exactly. I mean, just quickly on my old channel, you know, when I first started sharing, uploading, I remember that one day I was just uploading my experiences, and my higher self was screaming, "No, Zoe, slow down." But I wanted to get it out. I was mad at them. Like, no, I'm going to get it out. I want to get it all out. And my higher self's like, "No, Zoe, pace yourself." I didn't protect my energy that night. Anyway, that night I literally got taken from my bed, taken to, I believe it was probably even off planet just because of the material and stuff there. But anyway, I shared that on my channel. And long story short, there were military, reptilian human hybrids, humans, a lot of Draco reptilians. And they were there, and I weren't the only one. There were many, many individuals there, and they implanted me, threatened me, gave me 24 hours to take down my videos. And it was interesting because that particular TikTok account blew up overnight, as you can imagine, with these types of things I was putting out. And of course, when I came back, I remembered everything, every detail. And they wanted me to remember, of course. So they sometimes only want you to remember certain things. It's usually the negative things, and that's a way to threaten you and keep you small. Like, if you continue sharing, we'll do more of this. You know, we'll scare you, but they know that I can kind of like transmute that traumatic experience very quickly. Very resilient like that. But anyway, so so immediately, because obviously at the time I was scared for my life, for my daughter's life, you know, they threatened both of us. So I deleted everything. And anyway, after that morning, TikTok was heavily shadow banned. and I was barely getting any views or likes on anything. And the same applied with my YouTube channel, my original one. It was like hooks and tentacles on everything. And I started receiving weird messages and emails, and a lot of them there was like targeting and stuff like that, being gang stalked. I was going through a lot of that as well. So yeah, like I'm saying, like, you know, people that you know, genuine, you know, people like myself, this is our real lives. This is how it is. You know, our channels get affected, our lives get affected, everything gets, our health. And then you've got people like Elena Denar, they're sitting there all pretty, all glowy, you know, with their expensive dresses and jewelries, and buy my merch and buy this and that, you know, and doing all these conferences, and they're untouchable. Yeah, because they're protected by the 3-letter agency. They're in a psyop. If they were genuine experiences and generally and had our best interests at heart, yeah, and authentic, and weren't in a psyop, then yeah, they'd be struggling like the rest of us. But they're not. They're untouchable. They're protected. You know, obviously the Matrix, the Deep State, the Cabal, you know, the MILABs, whoever, whatever, they're all the same, just different names, different areas. They all work together. You know, we clearly see and know that they control the narrative. They control what they want us to see and hear and what they don't. So they could have taken the likes of Elena Denar, you know, with people like her and her channel down overnight. She hasn't had any issues with her channel. You know? It's just like people just don't see it. But anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of like referencing the Stranger Things guy again. Like, one of those claims that's being made is that he's going to make a deposition and this is all legal evidence and everything like that, right? If you were really in the program, you would know that that route's not going to work because you're going to get blocked at every angle. Mm-hmm. Him and others have said strange shit. Others that I would never, ever have on the show, where it's like, I try to give you the benefit of the doubt, let you speak, but also to a point, I'm trying to connect the dots and use my my discernment and all the tools that I have to try to determine what is actually going on here. Because I'm the first to say that. Sometimes I have people on this show, I vet them. When I talk to them, then it seems like they're fake. And let me tell you, those episodes come up missing because that's what this show is against, is bullshit, right? I have no problem making that stuff go away. It hasn't been a waste of my time whatsoever because I value the people that support this podcast. Somehow a lot of the people who have these broad-based claims, they display the symptomology or the persona or the mental conditions of people who have been targeted. So I won't take that away from them. I'm not saying that in the Stranger Things guy's case that he wasn't targeted and things didn't happen to him. Right?
Yeah, it was clearly targeted. Yeah.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Yeah.
It is the what is the motivation for that, and what is the degree to which this person is continuing to be targeted? Because without clarity on some of this stuff, when you ask for clarity, like the people that you're mentioning, you don't really get a whole lot of elaborate discourse on it. You don't really get a whole lot of clear cut not just like emotional content, but you don't really get a lot of stories that I don't want to say.
I know what you mean. Yeah, they're very vague. It's like, for me, with this particular individual, it was like trying to squeeze blood out of a stone. And I'm like, hang on, I'm thinking at times, why are we even doing this video? You know, you're proclaiming to be so-and-so and this and that. And he wasn't really giving me anything.
There's no evolution over time with the story either. There's no extenuating.
Sorry, just quickly, just to talk like quickly, like for instance, how did you come to that conclusion? Where did you get that information from? You know, it's like it wasn't giving me enough. It just didn't make sense. You know, what bits he were giving me, how he came with that conclusion. You know, that's all I'm going to say. Right.
There's no additional glue to glue each thing together. And we're not just picking on him just for the sake of picking on him. It's just that it's a recent and good example. But you find the same thing in all these cases of fakery, like some of the other names that you've called. They can't really give you a lot of clarity on stuff. They can't give you specific details, or there's like gaps in things that don't make any sense. And there's a certain level of hesitation as well to get into stuff. One of the things I like to do in verifying people's stories is I try to find others that might have heard it before, or might have had similar experiences, and interview those people on the side privately. And in that particular instance, a lot of people are like, not that guy. That guy is, he's a troublemaker, or he's not a nice person, or whatever the case is. And you got to watch for that too, because, you're a good example of this. I found Olivia to be a good example of this too. You don't come at people with unhealed trauma. You don't come at people from a place of being agitated and frustrated with it. You've spent time working on yourself to a certain degree to overcome traumatic experiences in a way that you can communicate succinctly what's going on. The waters have been muddied by people from various spectrums, like the ones doing the conferences and the ones on the lower level who have been targeted for one reason or another, that things just don't add up. And I don't know if there's a way that we can put a stop to this, because there's always going to be more and more podcasters popping up trying to just get content. Sometimes that's what it's about for people. They just want to have content. Look at me, listen to my show, and as it is, we're recording this on the 23rd of November. People are going to be listening to this episode sometime in February of 2026. I've got a lot of episodes coming out ahead of time, just in case I ever get too busy, or just in case things happen around here and I can't make episodes, or I get targeted, or things become difficult. Because I have found that I have had a very difficult path between 2021 and now, trying to get this show out there. I don't know, by the grace of baby Jesus or by the overlords just wanting us to, like we were saying earlier, wanting everyone to have a voice so they can talk amongst each other and be distracted with it. I am now starting to get a lot of traction. I don't know how long it will last. I don't know when my next big shadow ban is going to be, but I have this content coming out, as much of it as possible, talking about things in deeper issues. Hey, just in case digital ID comes in place and I can't upload anymore, like if I just go away.
Crap, I never even thought about that. Yeah.
And so I've got a lot of stuff coming out. So I don't know what form it will take, if they'll shut down the channel or what, if I'll just get thrown in the gulag or whatever. And, it's fine. It is what it is at this point. And, people are, well, how can
we'll figure it. We'll figure a way around it. Yeah. Like
I'll figure it out, but I don't know what next year is going to look like. So I'm making sure that there's a lot of stuff coming out ahead of time. I'm just saying this for the listeners, that you will get quite a few episodes lasting for a long time. I just don't know how long that will last for, or what's going to happen with all this control, because they're going to try to block you from using the internet and stuff as well too. And if that happens, then I'll go dark. Nobody will be able to contact me, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but they're using the free travel between Caribbean countries to usher in the first iteration of the digital ID system. So if you want to come from Dominica, or when I say Dominica, I mean the Dominican Republic or Belize or St. Vincent or one of those islands, you got to get digital ID to be able to travel and come here to work. I know that there have been some protests in the UK. I don't know if you've actually seen anything that you can verify that that's true or not, because the internet does lie. And AI is really advanced right now that they're using to make this stuff up,
Yeah, it's gone a bit quiet at the minute, to be honest, with the whole digital ID thing. It was up in the air. Everyone were going crazy, going mad, obviously angry, not wanting that to happen. I'm trying to remember what was the last thing that again, I don't know if it's true, because you don't know if it's, obviously I know the digital ID is real. It's a thing that the governments want to roll out. I know that because there's many evidence, there's videos, news and stuff like that. But I'm trying to remember the types of things I was saying. So if you're from England, and if I say something that's incorrect, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I say, like my memory is a bit, but yeah, they were saying things like, if you want to get, let's say, medical treatment at your doctors and the hospitals, you need digital ID. If you want to leave the country, have a holiday, digital ID. If you want to have a mortgage, digital ID. If you want to, I'm not sure with the grocery and shopping side of things, because they're implementing a new system where you've got to use a code on your phone. I'm pretty sure with a face recognition thing as well. So they'll probably use that for digital ID as well. Use a digital ID for that as well, or whatever, vice versa. But yeah, that's kind of the last thing I heard. I'm sure there's a lot more to it, because I just kind of stepped away from it because it was just like, again, distractions. But it's still something we have to pay attention to, because they really do want to roll out these things, So we have to come together and kind of come up with a plan to, how can we fight this? How can we've got to have a plan B. How are we going to be able to skirt around this? Protesting, things like that. So, but yeah, it's died down a bit at the minute. So, in fact, a lot of things died down in the UK, but I'm sure it won't be long. There'll be something else that'll be on the mainstream, and people in other countries will hear, or maybe something in America, like the AI Atlas. If they did it again, AI. 3i Atlas, that's gone quiet, hasn't it? And I said that, I predicted that. So as you watch it, it's probably just another distraction. When I did my long post, it'll die down, and then, it'll just, everyone won't be talking about it. And then there'll be a new thing, probably a bigger thing. And everyone's going to jump on the bandwagon, and then that will die down. And then it'll be something else. Again, it's distractions all the time.
Yeah. Well, in closing, what I'll say is that the one tactic that the government always uses to prop up their decisions is they say, oh, X number of people have already signed on, so don't get left out. And
that's a lie. Yeah.
They
fabricate the numbers. They fabricate a lot of things to make it seem to normal to everyone that, oh, okay, this is normal. Everyone's doing it. It's nothing to worry about. Just got to do it. It's fine. But yeah, so they do. They lie all the time. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So when it comes to the government, all the time, just be like, that's a lie. Anytime they say anything, that's a lie. Even if they say the sky is blue, well, we can tell that that's no longer true because they're doing stuff to it. So that's a lie. So in closing, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's it. I think that's everything. Yeah. We can, I'm sure I'll probably be back on again in the future, talk about, I don't know, whatever really, whatever's going on. And, but anyway, I think that's it.
All right. Well, God willing, if they let us have a platform next year, I'll have you back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the Boundless Authenticity podcast.
You're welcome.
Tell us where they can find Reach for Truth.
YouTube. You probably, if you put it in the search bar, it probably won't even come up because like I say, it's a new account. It's not many subscribers, so it's probably not that far up in the algorithm. But you never know. Try type in Reach for Truth. It might pop up. I'll give a link anyway, or perhaps you can get a link if you want off my channel and put it in the description or wherever you can. So you can find the link, click the link, and it will take you straight to my channel. And also I have a Facebook page, which is still currently called MILAB Gone Rogue, because I can't change my name. I'm having some problems at the minute. I won't go into the details, but eventually that will be changed to Reach the Truth. So yeah, that's where you can find me, guys. Also, my channel is for me to, share my experiences, share my beliefs, and I interview others, others that have had their own experiences, or for MILABs, or, but like I say, Reach the Truth is not just for MILABs, it's for anyone that has had weird or strange experiences or memories, or, like I say, it's for all of us. So if you've got anything you'd like to share, and if you want to go hop on my channel, and like I say, the invitation's there. And there'll be an email as well. I'll either give it to you, or you can find it on my either Facebook or YouTube channel. So anyway, yeah, if anyone's interested, that's where you can find me.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
You're listening to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast, where we discuss everything related to the evolution of human consciousness.
At the very least, people need to understand that the United States builds bunkers, which are basically cities underground, every 3 months.
Basically, when you dream, you tap into your subconscious. It is your nocturnal intuition, your creativity and imagination unchained from conscious reason, ego and logic.
They're biologically alive, but they have no soul. They have AI consciousness. They can alter your conscious of the brain if they get the brain.
We live in a multidimensional reality, whether it comes through esoteric information in the spiritual realms, or the UFO people, experiencers, or mainstream through quantum physics and through mainstream science now realizing that parallel dimensions probably exist.
We're all spiritual beings. We're all having these human experiences. We've heard that phrase over and over and over. But what does that really mean?
All the big questions of life, we have these answers inside of our souls.
We're ultimately studying the nature of what it is to be human, good and evil, our psychology, how we think, and our health. That's why I love Bruce Lee's great quote, all knowledge is ultimately self-knowledge.
The Boundless Authenticity Podcast.